London in the early 19th century was a city of stark contrasts. Grand architecture stood feet away from dense, impoverished slums, and in the heart of it all stood the massive, volatile brewing operations of the Meux Co. Horse-Shoe Brewery. Meux was one of the largest breweries in the world. To meet the city's thirst for dark, heavy porter ale, they built vats of staggering size, some holding the equivalent of 20,000 barrels. Their most infamous vat stood over 22 feet tall. On the afternoon of October 17, 1814, this giant vessel was holding over 1.5 million liters of fermenting beer. The structure was under immense pressure. At about 5:30, a single iron hoop on the colossal vat snapped. Moments later, the vat itself failed, erupting like a volcano. The explosion of beer was so violent that it blew out the main brewery wall. A tidal wave of porter ale, some 15 feet high, descended into the neighboring streets. The flood hit the St. Giles Rookery, one of the poorest, most tightly packed slums in London. The narrow, cobbled streets and flimsy tenement housing offered no resistance. Homes were obliterated. People were swept away. Some were killed by the sheer force of the liquid, while others were crushed under the collapsing buildings. Basements, often used as living spaces, filled instantly. 8 people were killed instantly, including a young woman named Hannah Bamfield and a 4-year-old child. Rescuers waded through 4 feet of dark alcoholic sludge to find survivors. The inquest ruled the disaster an act of God, effectively absolving the brewery of responsibility. This sparked massive outrage among the poor residents of St. Giles. The brewery later won an appeal and received an indemnity from Parliament to recover the excise tax they had paid on the lost beer. They essentially got a tax break for a disaster they caused. The Great Beer Flood remains one of London's strangest and most tragic industrial accidents. It highlights a brutal era where life was cheap, and even a common drink could become an unexpected, lethal force of nature.